Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I've got two people in person with me, which hasn't happened for a little while. So let me introduce them. We have Selina Ringel and Levy Dagerman. Hey, you two.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. So the introduction is like a year and a half ago, because we're already in June of 2025. But December 2023, you two brought your film, You, Me, and Her, to the Sherman Oaks Film Festival and took home. I'm going to read off all your awards if you don't mind.
Oh, love that.
Well, first of all, You, Me, and Her took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Feature Film Comedy. Also, I love this award, by the way, and you got the Grand Jury Award for Best Performance by a Cast, which I love that award, because I'm always a little torn about pulling one performer out of a film and honoring him, because honestly, your whole cast was wonderful.
Thank you.
Like top to bottom.
Thank you.
And lastly, Best Screenplay, the Grand Jury Award for Best Screenplay Feature Film for the writer Selina Ringel. And I guess I should say, Dan directed, Selina wrote and produced, and you were the lead performer.
Yeah.
And you two know each other well.
Yeah, we're married. Yeah.
And Dan also produced. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny, because in our credits that we pulled off of Film Freeway, we only had you as producer.
Yeah.
I should correct that, but I won't.
Yeah.
No worries.
No worries. I like highlighting my directing when I get to do it.
True, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more impressive to show fewer of the hats you wore. Because needless to say, on an indie film, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of hats.
I'm sure you could have given yourself a catering credit.
Yeah, all the credits.
Casting director.
All the credits, yeah.
All the credits. Well, so before we jump in and talk about the film, but actually, why don't you talk about? Well, I normally get into people's histories, but honestly, You, Me, and Her, I'm just going to say, probably has had the best post-festival experience that I know of so far.
Cool.
Right? Because we've had a lot of wonderful features come through and make a little dent. But I feel like what happened with your film is on the, I'm going to call it special, or wonderful, like something wonderful. So you want to talk about it right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so where do we start? Maybe we start with where the idea started. So maybe, Selina, if you want to jump in.
Oh, the idea for the story?
Idea, do we want to just give a brief run-through of where this started? So this started in Vegas, led to us making the feature 6 months later. I don't know.
Yeah, so me and my husband, Levy Dagerman, who's the director, we went on a trip to Las Vegas. It was one of the first trips we had been on without our kids. And we went to this club, and I was hit on by this woman, which is something that hasn't really happened to me before. But I realized when it was happening that I was kind of curious. And then she actually kissed me. And she asked Dan for permission to kiss me. And he was like, yeah, definitely, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, that was very easy, more easy than I expected. But anyway, we shared this beautiful kiss. And then she was like, you know what? I would really love to see you later. Would you be okay if I took your phone number? And we saw each other later. And I was like, oh my God, like this is kind of beyond, what are we getting into here? And I asked Dan, I said, can I give her my phone number? And he was like, yeah. Give her your phone number. And I was like, okay. So I gave her my phone number. And then we spent the next 48 hours in Vegas just talking about like what's on the table, what's not on the table, like what would be okay, what would not be okay. And it was like this weird, like incredible trip where we were laughing and it was a lot of fantasizing. And, we were having so much fun just thinking about what this possible experience could be like and, what it would mean and how we would get involved. And I remember at some point I was like, what if she just wants to see me on my own? And he was like, well,
just cheating.
That's just cheating.
That's just cheating.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah. It is. You could literally do like a 6-hour documentary series on how couples react to this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone draws a line somewhere else.
Well, and also, by the way, had it been a man, it would have been a non-starter.
Exactly.
So, like, if a man had been like, I want to kiss your wife, Dan would have been like, no way, we're leaving right now.
But it's a long story.
But what if he was really pretty? Like, really attractive?
No, I got that.
Because as the film states, whatever year it is, everyone's buy.
Yeah,
exactly.
true.
Whatever year, add some ADR. Perfect.
Except for Dan. No, I'm joking.
But so long story short, she ghosted Selina.
Yeah, she never texted me.
Oh, she did ghost you after the number exchange.
No, she never texted me, which, by the way, I'm going to blame on the fact that she was at a bachelorette party, because she was.
But it led to like a conversation about it, which, you know, there were lots of ins and outs to that. And it's playing on men's sexual fantasies and sexual fantasies Selina was experiencing. And so we were like, holy shit, this is a movie. So on the way home from Vegas, we were outlining it. And it quickly became a script. And this was our third, we decided this was the third feature we were going to make.
Yeah.
Right. And I have seen your face on HBO Max.
Yay!
Yeah, with one of the earlier features,
Yeah.
which was, by the way, very funny for me because it was probably 6 months to a year later. And my wife and I are looking for something to watch. And I went, wait. I know her. That's Selina's face. Because the poster of, I don't know the film before this one, but the poster's like, your face, like all your face.
Yeah.
So I totally recognized you.
Yeah, yay, cool.
So just to give some context, and we can jump to the distribution part, was Single Mother by Choice. And so that was the second feature we made. And we've learned a lot on our journey of making films and then releasing them. So our first film was called The Best People, and that came out on Amazon, and we followed a very traditional path, getting a sales agent from a festival and learning the ins and outs of that and the pluses and minuses of it. And so we decided not to do that on our second film. So on Single Mother by Choice, we basically boyhooded the pregnancy of our son, which means we made a fictional story over the 9 months of having a kid. And then that happened during COVID. So 2 months into boyhooding the pregnancy, global pandemic, and we had to reframe the whole movie. So we made that movie, and it was done at the height of the pandemic, and we were like, well, we could go to festivals that were mostly virtual at the time or try and make a direct sale to a streamer. And that's how it actually landed on HBO, it was so relevant, and there wasn't as much content at the time. So that we made a direct sale to a streamer, and we were really excited and empowered by that. And because of that, we doubled our money on the film. Which was also a miracle.
Yeah. I mean, that's a miracle in itself. But I will say, looking back, I think that one of the biggest strategic decisions we made in that moment was to not go to festivals. Because had we waited to go to festivals, and it was a very particular moment, but had we waited to go to festivals, by the time we would have done our festival run, our movie would have been not a movie people necessarily want to buy.
And no one wants to see COVID after
And no one would have wanted to see COVID after COVID was over. And so what was really interesting was, like, we had a movie about the height of the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, fully finished in a moment where there wasn't a lot of finished product. And so I think that was like one of the smartest executive decisions we made.
But yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
You would have gotten so little out of a festival run during COVID.
Yeah.
And you seized the moment.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
And we would have missed the moment.
And you had literally no competition back then. People were watching, I mean, I realized Tiger King had a little bit of appeal, but honestly, everyone lowered their standards for new content because there was no more good stuff coming.
Yeah. We're always super excited about Tiger King that we've lowered.
Come on, that's how low our standards were in 20. Right?
And then so jumping forward to You, Me, and Her and our distribution on that, so we enjoyed a very successful festival run, and we got reviews along the way, and one of the best notes we got was from you at the festival where it said You, Me, and Her is a vibe check. And I really love that quote because the movie has a lot of attitude. It's fun. It's like a rom-com, anti-rom-com fun story. But so anyway, so we were nearing the end of our festival run, and the market was really weird. It was right after the strikes. It was, COVID had already affected theaters and all of that. And
so we were kind of in this place where we had already, I think we had won 15 awards at the time, and we had a movie we thought was a really good commercial, fun movie.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes at the time. People were really liking the film, really connecting to the film, and then we were kind of going out, and we were getting offers, but we were not getting offers we thought were good. And what's interesting about that, too, is that we've now been doing this long enough that we understand the difference between a good offer and a bad offer. which is not to say sometimes bad offers is what's available, but we did something that was very risky, which is basically we were like, and it was actually Dan's idea. We were about to sign a bad offer. And then Dan basically had like a panic attack and woke up in the middle of the night and was like, we can't do it. There's something better out there. He was like, we need to hold the movie back.
Well, but just to jump back a little bit, at the same time as we were fielding these offers and getting closer to taking this one, I had come up with a strategy to eventize screenings.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a theatrical run for our movie.
Right, like an independently done
Like-
self-release.
like
a self-release, but the smart way, where it's not just you throw it on VOD and cross your fingers.
Yeah, and like not a day and date release. We wanted to make this feel like a theatrical film because we believed in it. It's our best work, and we thought we're going to put this on the big screen.
Let me speak to the quality, which is, I will just say to anyone listening that I think I said this at your Q&A, like it's Hollywood quality. Like you would look at the film and assume a very healthy budget because there's no corners cut on screen.
Thank you so much.
So you had something you knew could play
and
theatrically.
it played so well for audiences in festivals. So on that journey of festivals, which we so appreciated with this film since we missed it on the last one, we saw the reaction of audiences and we knew that this was real and people would respond to it.
And also, I think one of the things that Dan in his plan put in that I thought was really smart was he wanted to do brand partnerships. He wanted to do influencer partnerships. He wanted to eventize. He created I think it was an 18-page deck on all of the things that we would do to bring attention to the film.
And we wanted all of the brands to thematically relate to the movie. And so when we were finishing our festival run, we decided we were going to eventize a screening. So we partnered with Pleasure Med, which is a cannabis dispensary / consumption lounge that's tied to the Pleasure Chest, the sex toy shop.
Which aligns with our film.
Which aligns perfectly with our film. And so they offered to AstroTurf their whole parking lot and project the film on the wall of their parking lot in the middle of West Hollywood.
And we also got a mezcal partner.
Yeah, so we reached out to people in our network who had brands that we thought thematically related. So we got a mezcal sponsor called Zomos Mezcal, which was incredible. And we got a blunt rolling sponsor called El Blunto, and shout out my friend Sammy Elliott and iPoppy. They were there giving out dabs at the event. It was just a really fun, unique experience. And so we also shot a ton of content at the event because what I believed in this plan is the world is watching a lot more content than movies, unfortunately, but movies are art that I believe in and really care about, but content can support that art and drive traffic to it.
Yeah.
So that was the plan. So we threw this event, we shot some really fun videos, we gave away a trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
And a few other giveaways. And so we leveraged this to sort of prove our concept. It was like the MVP, as startups would say, the minimum viable product of our tour. And so we took that.
Well, and this is interesting, too, because when we gave away that trip to Mexico, we actually paid for the flight on our personal miles. But we wanted to make it look bigger than it was. But what we did is then we used that footage, we used those ideas to then leverage getting other bigger brands. And eventually, when we actually launched our own campaign, we were able to partner with the Tourism Board of Nayarit, who actually paid for all of the flights of all of the winners. And we ended up giving away 5 trips to Mexico. But we'll get into that in a second.
And then meanwhile, while all of this was happening around the time where I started building this deck, I saw on LinkedIn this guy named John Fithian had posted about that he was leaving the National Association of Theater Owners, the other NATO, as the president there, and he was starting a new platform called Attend. And Attend promises to bring indie film back to theaters, leveraging AI and demographic data to sort of find your audience. And so I was super inspired by this and reached out to him in a cold message and just said,
on LinkedIn,
I'd love to chat about indie film. And we have this incredible movie, and I want to tell you about it. And he was gracious enough to give us a Zoom call.
Yeah, and so we had this Zoom call. I remember it was really funny because I think he was in Greece, and he was kind of like, "All right, what's up? What do you guys want?" And he's a really nice guy, but he was kind of like, "What are we doing on this call?" And so we kind of like pitched him what we were thinking of doing, and we had already this plan, and we had all these ideas. And I think at the end of the call, he said something like, "Well, you guys have a lot of energy." He was like, "Stay in touch," and I was like, "Don't dare me to stay in touch." No, I'm joking.
And so after we eventized the screening, we were like, do you want to see the movie? This is what we're doing. We've raised some funds to go theatrical, and this is what we're trying to push. And we just bailed on that other deal. So we didn't know what we were doing at the time.
Well, we were kind of worried because we were like, we have all these ideas and we have all these plans, but we don't actually have we don't have a deal on the table right now, and we didn't want to take a deal that we didn't want. And then at the same time...
So they said, we'll watch your movie, but we only watch movies in theaters. And so we went for it, and we rented out a theater, and we had them and some of their tech partners who were in town come see the film. And we did a little Q&A after, and we showed the eventized thing and talked about what we were doing, and there was some excitement.
And they were like, we love the movie. Stay in touch. And I was like, damn it! So we did. I mean, this was a process that, by the way, took like 7 or 8 months. Like, it was not like fast. It was not. I mean, and by the way, just to give some context, like, they had been backed by like Patty Jenkins and Sean Baker and Steven Soderbergh and Damien Chazelle. So like, what they're building is this big thing, and there's these big filmmakers
and like
saying,
50 other producers and directors.
Yeah, it's like a big thing that
Yeah.
a lot of people in Hollywood are like backing. And so they were in the process of figuring out their beta phase and the 16 movies that they were going to launch this with. And they're also fundraising, and they're talking to big, filmmakers.
And so we set up a lunch with them like a month later as we were navigating this, and we're like, okay, we're going to do like a 5-screen release.
But wait,
Yeah.
this is
This
my
is
proudest
Selina's.
moment.
That's why I wanted to set you up so you could slam dunk it. You go. You already got it.
So at that lunch, we didn't even have a plan for that lunch. I just remember saying to Dan when we walked in, like, let's just listen really carefully first to where they're at and what they need. And then we'll go from there. Because obviously time had passed, they were building up what they were doing. And I remember in the conversation listening to kind of where they were at, and they were in the process of fundraising this, and they had already gotten that, and they had, they were looking at what, certain things could be or not be. And I literally had this like idea, like in the moment. I mean, we knew we wanted to work with them, but I basically said like, and based off of my book, Be the Train, I literally said like, well, what if you guys were just the train and you started now instead of waiting until you have all your money in, and you get the process started, you get people excited, and that'll actually help with people giving you money because you're already starting, you're already in motion. And I was like, and I think that instead of waiting for the beta, you should have an alpha, and it should be us. And they were like, well, we really appreciate, the bold. But they were like, look, like, if we're going to choose an alpha movie, like, why would we choose you guys? They were like, we would think you made a really good movie, but we just have to be real here. Like, we're trying to build something really big. We have all these big filmmakers behind us. Like,
Yeah, they're thinking old-fashioned thinking, which is you need a name.
You need a name. What's the pitch? Like, what's it? And I literally said, I was like, well, I was like, I have a 2-part pitch. I was like, 1, if this actually works with us, then it proves everything you're trying to prove, which is that people actually show up for independent films without a big name, without a big budget, right? If you go for a movie that's X amount of millions of dollars with Scarlett Johansson and it works, people will go, well, yeah, it worked because it was Scarlett Johansson. And I was like, and then the second part of this is there's going to be cracks in the system that you're going to have to figure out. And I was like, and I don't think you want to take that chance with like a Sean Baker. You know what I mean? Take that chance with us. We're willing to take that chance with you. We're willing to be an experiment, and you're never going to meet 2 people who are going to work harder than us. So like, we're worth being the shot that we all kind of learn and experiment together and figure out what makes sense. And they literally looked at each other like across the table, and then they looked at me and they were like, and they looked at Dan, they were like, okay. And I was like, okay, what? And they were like, okay, let's be business partners. And I was like, okay. And then it was like, you're going to 250 theaters nationwide. Now you need to raise like real money. You got to do your own campaign. Like, what is this campaign going to look like? And Dan was like very intense that he wanted it to be a Valentine's Day release.
So
because
it was
he felt
literally
like
everything that we planned in the deck, but on steroids. Because
because you were thinking 5, not 250.
5, maybe 10 theaters.
You were even
maybe
thinking of
one
like
week,
doing a tour. Like your original idea might have been a tour where you could personally promote each one and make 100%. It work. And this was, okay, nationwide release.
Yeah.
250.
Yeah.
But that's why Fithian was key, is you need somebody who can reach all those theaters.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you sat down and tried to contact 250 individual theater owners.
No, and also they wouldn't have responded either.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and I think that's one of the cracks we did find is actually that one of the hardest pieces is the exhibitor communication. Right?
Yeah.
So, which is not to say, like, I think big picture was a huge success, but there were a lot of things that needed to get resolved and figured out. And I think had we been in direct communication the whole time and not had this these people speaking on our behalf with a relationship with all of these exhibitors for the past 30 years, because also to clarify, you know, John Fithian and Jackie Brenneman and Patrick Corcoran had all worked at NATO, and they were, you know, doing that for 30 plus years.
And they had a relationship with all the theaters across the country and the world, which makes them the ideal partners for building a platform like this, because merging independent film and speaking on behalf of film as the lobbying body to the government for theaters just makes it such a unique position to be there.
Yeah.
No, and it kind of is I mean, I understand the yes, because it kind of was the perfect thing to test it with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And start building. Because, you can't think of, you just totally save them a lot of trouble, actually, for sure.
Yeah.
So you had a hill to climb.
Oh, yeah.
And a date in mind.
Yeah. It was a big hill. It was a big hill. And I will say this, though. I think one of the biggest things that I'm proud of in our life, actually, is how we did this marketing campaign, because we went so outside of the box with how we did everything, and we did almost everything ourselves, which I'm going to throw in my book, Be the Train, the Mindset and Tools You Need to Make Your First Feature. But I do have a bunch of stuff in the book about how we went about things, and a lot of it was cold emails, and we literally partnered with 20 brands post the movie being completely finished, all brands that authentically aligned with the film. We got over $100,000 in kind. We created 250 curated boxes that we sent to influencers across the nation to open up and talk about the movie. We didn't pay any influencers to do any of that. It was all like organic, authentic, and it was hard because not all influencers are willing to do that. So we literally had to send thousands of emails to get
and
those
it
people.
Was all really targeted, because I want to be clear, like when you're working with brands and influencers, it can't just be a play to try and get attention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like everything we were doing was thematically related to the movie and trying to find people who would relate and would naturally want to post something about this, from the brands to the influencers, because they both have a separate audience from us that we're trying to reach. So the goal of doing this isn't just to get money for your film in different ways. It's to decentralize your social media campaign, so you're getting touch points from a bunch of different places about the movie.
And then on top of that, we also gave away 5 trips to Mexico. We also had a billboard in Times Square. We had a billboard on Sunset and Doheny. We partnered with a childcare company. We gave away discounted childcare to people who wanted to go on date night. We partnered with an ethical, non-monogamous dating app, and we gave away tickets to people who wanted to, do that, to be part of their app. We
did a buy 2 get 1 free deal with Fandango. Yeah.
We also gave away stuff in theaters. We actually gave away 2 of the trips to Mexico in theaters to create an in-theater experience so that people could actually walk away and talk about something unique that they experienced after watching the movie. We went to 9 different cities. We had a red carpet. We gave away boxes. We gave away tequila. We gave away CBD gummies. And so we were showing up to a lot of these places, doing giveaways, and we had like fun forms that people had to fill about stuff that they felt around the movie and the aftermath. So it was an enormous job. But it was also super fun and I think a huge learning opportunity.
Major learning opportunity. We know exactly how we want to release our movies next, or at least experiment with, you know?
Well, I got to say something that I think is super cool about it, which is you wrote the script without any of that in mind.
No.
But the truth is you wrote a brave script that handled subjects and things in a very non-Hollywood way. In other words, a Hollywood studio would have stamped down the husband's weed use.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It would have stamped down more of the sexuality. It would have been more cheesy. And the fact that you had I just admire the way that you were honest about marijuana use with a character and how it affects your relationship. But I mean, I'm saying like you use these themes in the film as an advantage. And those are themes that a lot of people might have told you to leave out if you wanted a national release.
Yeah.
And that's how wrong people are. Like following your instincts totally paid off.
Yeah, exactly. And in 2 ways. One, we made this film really personal. The films we've made together are sort of like a hyperbole of our lives in the moment we're in. So like it's like an extreme version of it. So it comes from a very personal place. And then on the cannabis side, shout out my production company, High Concept Entertainment. So that's all related to cannabis, and we have a slate of 7 projects in that space. But what I really believe is rather than trying to cater to a very wide audience, it's about catering to a niche audience. And by speaking about stuff that's personal to you, people will relate to it.
Well, and I think then you get your wider audience because you're being specific. I think like in a way when you're specific, you speak to more people. But yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting because I feel like we became like a full-on marketing machine, which is not at all what we were trained to do. We both went to AFI to be filmmakers. But I actually also believe that the future of independent filmmakers is not just being filmmakers anymore.
Definitely not. Yeah.
I think that it's not possible, or at least unless things change drastically from where they are now. I think like the majority of independent filmmakers are not finishing their movie and selling it to A24 or selling it to Neon and getting a big check and getting a big theatrical and getting a good marketing campaign and people who are just going to do their marketing.
And I think
so
while that...
you need to, wait, so I think you need to start thinking about yourself more as a person who can really take your film to the finish line, and the finish line is not when the movie is finished, unfortunately.
I think that can sound stressful, overwhelming, and depressing based on what we were taught in schools about like you finish your film, someone's going to pick it up, and then it's on the big screen, all these great things. But I think for me, it was actually incredibly empowering to do it this way because it was very disempowering on our first feature to give it away and not feel like you have any hand in any of these next steps.
Yeah.
It was more empowering on our second film to sell it directly to a streamer. However, I don't feel like the film made an impact, or I don't know, because all I know is people who scrolled in, oh, I saw Selina on the screen there. You know, so we really were determined to make more of an impact, and we felt like we had a lot more control on this version. But caveat to that, it took 1/3 of the total budget of the film to market the film. And that being said, when we saw an article come out a few months later that Enora, which was made for $6 million, and they went for an Oscar campaign, spent almost $18 million
I was
on
going to
their
say, I'm
marketing
surprised
campaign.
it wasn't more than the budget.
Yeah.
The fact that it was a third means you still did, every penny was spent wisely, I'm sure.
Well, I thought that was...
Because you don't have a choice.
No.
Well, and also because A, we don't have a choice, and B, the amount of time that we spent is like enormous. I mean, I have never multitasked.
It was another production. It was like making a movie.
I think it was more work than making a movie.
I think it was different work from making a movie. But to me, what's really cool about having experienced the not full life cycle, but from development
it's
all the
middle
way
age
to
now,
release. Now it's out on TVOD.
Yeah.
Watch it on Amazon, iTunes. It's coming to STARZ in September, so that's very exciting. But anyway, I think taking a film through that entire life cycle, I see that as a necessary part of the entire machine, because it's not like people design a car or most products. You don't design it, make it perfect, and then be like, hey, maybe you can sell it better than me. And I think it's like you get such an intimate relationship with the film, and going on the festival circuit, we had even more of like a knowledge of what worked and what didn't, and got to understand it better. So to me, this is all part of the beautiful journey of making art projects and bringing it into the world.
I mean, it certainly could be a factor that you two are both somewhat exceptional and intelligent and know what to do with things. But I can tell you, I mean, 10 years ago, I was part of two pair film festivals that started, and for 8 years, I've been doing this podcast to talk to filmmakers longer, and I've yet to hear someone regret the self-distribution path. Every time I talk to people about their distribution path, if they sign that deal with a producer's rep or whomever, I won't name the companies, but we all know who they are. They got one little payment and never saw another thing and felt completely like they didn't have control. And yet marketing and advertising was still all on them.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you do it yourself, whether, there's Film Hub and this, that, and the other, but the people who do it for themselves have all said to me, boy, like, I know someone who's made he's made like 5 features. And he finally did his first self-release last year. And he's like, fewer people saw it. And I've already, in the first 3 months, it made more than all the other films put together. Because someone else was taking all that money.
Well, and also the thing is that you also have visibility and control, right? And so in a world where I think we have so little control and there is so little visibility, and like now we just sold the movie to STARZ, and the movie will be out on STARZ in September 1st, which is great, but it's already on the other platforms, and like we have direct access to how many people are watching it in any given moment, which by the way was another executive decision we had to make, because after we had the whole theatrical release, came a whole new wave of people who were like, oh, we'll help you now with distribution. And we thought, oh, well, these deals are going to look a lot better. And what was interesting is, I mean, the deal with STARZ did look better. That was a good deal. And I'm really glad that that one came in and that's what we ended up going. But some of the distributors that wanted to sign with us basically wanted to help us with the TVOD portion. And what they wanted to do with the TVOD portion was go, we take 30% of everything and we'll help you put it up on, Amazon and Apple and all these things. And we started doing the math and we're just like, well, so if like we're looking at like a $4 rental, right, on Amazon, and then you're taking 30% of that. And then it's like, but wait, I can just put it up on Amazon myself. Like, so it was just like, so we were like, no, we don't really want to do that. And I think that there's, again, like, who's to say, like, what it could have looked like the other way, because we didn't do it this time. But I think that there is something really satisfying about being able to literally log in and see how many people have watched the movie, and that people have spread the word, and that what weeks it seems to be doing better than other weeks.
See if it correlates with the advertising.
Or see if it correlates with our own social media, or, and so it's like there's just a way where you feel a little bit more in control. And it's on airlines. It's on American Airlines.
Well, and the truth is, everybody, yes, it's wonderful to stay in control because you care. Mm-hmm. And these other companies really don't. They're not invested in this. They want 30% of something, but they're not going to fight to make that 30% grow. They expect you to fight for your 70%, and then their 30% grows. Yeah. And it really just doesn't. Honestly, I am always whispering to people, maybe you should self-release. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should self-release. That was a hell of a good documentary, and you have like famous Hollywood actors in it. Maybe you should self-release, because I just think you're onto it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
even if people care.
Although I'm aware that most people wouldn't do what you two. Most people don't have the skill set.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think honestly, and thank you, I appreciate that, but I think also a lot of people don't have the time, right? I mean, you have to put a certain amount of time.
Yeah, well, you obviously don't sleep because there's children.
No.
Yeah, we don't sleep at all.
I'm like, wait.
We definitely need more sleep. We definitely don't get enough sleep. And then also, I think that we really prioritize this and made it like our number one. Like, I think it's very hard when you're done with your movie. You've put so much energy into it. And I think what happens to most independent filmmakers is they go, whew, all right, done with that one. Like, you know what I mean? Just take it. Do whatever. I can't deal with it anymore.
Well, they'd rather focus on another screenplay or something.
Which is
instead of the success of the film they just finished.
Which is fun, but if I'm honest about it, if we hadn't done what we had done, it probably would have gone in the direction of our first film, which isn't the direction we wanted to go. And instead, it made the largest impact for an independent film our size that it possibly could. And that was through the self-distribution and pushing it ourselves. And so I don't feel like if we hadn't done that and charged forth confidently and trying to just do something disruptive that doesn't follow the traditional model, we would be in the same opportunity to make our next projects.
Well, and the other thing I will say too, and again, I mean, this does go a little bit back to my book. My book is all about seizing momentum. And I'm a really big believer that momentum is created by you being the momentum. Like, I think you have to actually already be in motion for someone to jump onto what you're doing. And I think a lot of people feel like, oh, when I get the money, I'll start. Oh, when I finish the script, I'll start. Oh, and the truth is that, like, most people are trying to do something and most people are not making something. And so it's very hard to jump on board with someone who isn't already making something, right? Because most things are not going to get made. And so what's interesting about that to me is, like, when I even think about how we got, the Fithian Group to accept and to keep talking to us and to be engaged in what we were doing, is that the reality is we were already in motion. By the time we spoke to them, we already had a deck. We already had an idea for what we were going to do. We were already saying we're going to theaters.
We already had a theatrical booker.
We already had a theatrical booker. We had started doing all the research and all the work ourselves before we even got on that call. So had we gotten on that call and said, we've got a great little film and we just think you guys should take it on, I am 100% sure that would have been the end of the conversation. But it was because I think we were persistent and we actually had a plan and we were actually doing our own work on our own time. So then every time we were checking in with them, we had advanced substantially from the last time we had spoken to them. And so then I think it felt for them like, well, these people are doing this anyway. You know what I mean? So we might as well join forces and see what we can make happen.
For sure. Not to mention that, look, they put a very clear speed bump in front of you by saying, we want you to present it in a theater. And I think most people might have chickened out there and said, well, I'm not renting a theater.
Yeah, just in case.
They called your bluff and you said, no, I'm not bluffing. I got cards here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I think
that was a big test, I feel.
No, I agree. And I think that is the kind of risk that you need to take. And what's interesting is I think one of the hardest parts of what we do is taking those risks, because it's so easy to doubt the end result and to feel like it's not worth taking the risk because the end result might not be what you want. But I think that without taking the risk, you don't stand a chance.
And that's why, to shout out Selina's book one more time, is it's the mindset and tools to making your first feature. And the mindset is so important. And I'm still working on it every day, because going into these meetings, it can get very discouraging and you can get very cynical about it. But if you go into these meetings with the mindset that it's not going to work, then guess what? It's probably.
Is that, that's we have our heart out.
Oh, God.
Which it's funny because I was getting ready to say.
Oh, my God. Sorry about that. I didn't realize
I'm so sorry, because I could talk to you two for a long time.
Yeah,
I didn't even get your personal histories or nothing. We could always do a follow-up on Zoom if you want.
I'm always down. We're always down.
Heck, I would almost want to do each of you on your own.
Oh, that's super fun. I'm down.
So that, because I've done that with teams before, not married teams, and it was always fun to talk to, a collaborator and then a collaborator, and then they listen to each other's podcasts and then do one together and be like, I learned shit about this movie that I'd never heard before because they'd never said that stuff to me. They never told me that. So we could try
session.
it. But either way,
I'm down. That'd be so fun.
I mean, it's cool. Mm-hmm. It's cool. I mean, what you're doing is fantastic, and
Thank
you.
But the most I wanted to say that when you were talking about risk, the biggest risk is making the film.
Yeah.
Right. Like it takes tremendous courage because there you're actually putting your creativity on the line, right?
Yeah.
So once it's made, why chicken out then? Like you took your big risk. You've got this wonderful film. Why not go for broke instead of just say, hey, company X, give me $5,000 and then you go get it out there and you tell me, oh, we'll get it out there and then you'll make more money in your next one. But we'll send you money over that $5,000 if we ever get over it. And they never get over it.
But I feel like one of the biggest things, and this is something I deal with all the time, is like, and I call it a vulnerability hangover. But like, I feel like I put myself out there so much.
You're so tired.
So much. And then when you don't get a response or where people don't want to work with you, it's like you feel like shame because it's like, when I'm reaching out to 1,000 influencers and going, hey, this is why this movie matters. This is why we made it. This is why we think it speaks to you. And I'm individualizing every single email, right? And so I think like a lot of people will have a hard time with these vulnerability hangovers. And then at the same time, you probably had a huge vulnerability hangover when you made the movie, right? Because like if you're making a personal movie, because all of a sudden you have this movie that's very vulnerable and it's either like people like it or they don't, or they respond or they don't, and that kind of is out of your control. So I mean, I agree with you. It's like, it doesn't make sense to stop then, but I also do understand why some people are like, I already put myself out there. It's too hard to keep doing it, but it feels like a missed opportunity to not keep going.
For sure. I would respond, but you have to go, right? I don't want to keep you because we could probably chat for an hour.
I know.
And sadly, we don't have time. So but go ahead. Say like websites and social media that people should follow.
Yeah. So I'm at Selina Ringel
on Instagram.
And also you can follow at Be the Train, which is my #1 best-selling book on Amazon.
And I'm at DL Dagerman, and I also build all the websites. So follow us at www.twohandsproductions.com with the number 2. Or you can follow the movie You, Me, and Her at www.ymhmovie.com. Or you can follow my new company, High Concept Entertainment, at www.highconceptentertainment.com. And last but not least, you can follow my latest feature film that we're kicking off with next generation Star Wars-like universe for aliens smoking weed called Space Weed. And so you can follow that at www.spaceweeduniverse.com.
And I also want to just shout out, the Instagram for the movie, because the movie is at You, Me, and Her Movie. That's on Instagram, and that is the movie that we just made that came out in 250 theaters nationwide. It is also out right now on Amazon, on Google Play, on Apple TV, on Fandango, and it'll be out on STARZ on September 1st.
Excellent. And as you notice, I gave up typing what you were saying. So just send me an email with all the links, and there'll be, I promise everyone listening, there will be clickable links in the show notes. And I will try to do the fastest wrap-up possible, which is, thank you, Selina. Thank you, Dan. Thank you both for being. If someone is listening to the Discovery Indie Film podcast, like and subscribe. Be a nice person. Maybe even write a nice review. If you want to learn more about this podcast or a little TV series that was born out of it, go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it is always at DIFWins. We did not get to talk about whatever. We talked about what we knew. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn more about the film festival that gave those lovely awards to You, Me, and Her, that's the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. We're celebrating our 10th year this December, so go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. Its sister festival is also having a 10th anniversary this year in like 2 freaking weeks, so it will have passed by the time you hear this, I think. But that's Film Invasion LA. You can learn about it at FilmInvasionLA.com and at Film Invasion LA on social media. And next January in 2026, we're launching Film Invasion Lima, Peru.
Oh, that's fun. Very exciting.
Yeah, I got a Google flight tracker going, and I don't think I'll be doing the Q&As because my Spanish sucks now. But anyway, there are always people talking to me about doing another film invasion. London fell through, Vancouver fell through, all these. But this team in Lima, man, they're great.
Amazing.
Nice. That's awesome.
And I can't even tell you how inexpensive the theater is.
Yay!
And it's in the Spanish Quarter with all the museums. It's beautiful.
Oh,
it's
fun.
an old Spanish theater, that the conquistadors built. So anyway, it's going to be rad.
That's so
amazing.
Cool.
Well, thank you both for being here.
Thanks
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for listening.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.